Welcome back to Creating Inner Beauty. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some simple ways to work with goddess energy in your healing journey. Before we dive in, if you're new here, my name is Liz and I'm an intuitive healer and coach for conscious women, and I love helping women heal their blocks, step into their personal power and unique intuitive gifts, and manifest soul-aligned dream lives. And one of the ways I love doing this is working with goddess energy. Now, in my last video, I talked about why working with goddess energy may be your next step on your healing journey as a conscious woman. So I will link that video down below in case you haven't had a chance to check that one out. And then in today's video, we're going to start talking about some simple ways you can begin on that journey. Now, before we dive in a little bit deeper, I'm just going to say that I am going to divide the ways that we can begin this work into ways to focus on awakening your own inner goddess and ways to focus on connecting to the goddess outside of you as an archetype or energy in your spiritual practice. But I want you to remember, like I talked about in my last video, that these two things are interconnected, and as you're doing one, you're kind of automatically doing the other. So as you awaken your inner goddess, you awaken different aspects of the goddess within you, you are connecting to that goddess energy on the outside. As you do spiritual practices or work with a goddess archetype that you conceptualize as being outside of yourself, you are awakening that within you as well. So don't stress too much about where to start and what to do. Just listen to these suggestions and these ideas and start with whatever resonates with you the most, whatever you feel intuitively guided to, and trust that the goddesses and your inner goddess will guide you in this journey. So let's dive into it. Okay, so let's start with awakening your inner goddess, your own divine feminine energy. Ultimately, as a bigger picture statement about this is all about recognizing and honoring yourself as a piece of the divine, as the embodiment of the divine feminine energy in human form right now. And then allowing yourself to nurture, honor, and express yourself as a goddess would. That's how we can kind of think about it here. Whether that is like the goddess in general, as we talked about in the last video, sometimes I use the word goddess in a big picture sense to encapsulate all the divine feminine energy, or a specific goddess that you feel connected to. So whichever one that you feel called to think about it, thinking about yourself and treating yourself the same way you would think about and treat that goddess energy. Okay, so the first thing, of course, and I think we hear this talked about in many ways, self-care, self-care, self-care. When we take care of ourselves, we are honoring and nurturing our own divine feminine energy and the goddess within us, right? So we want to be able to take time for appropriate rest, and that means both like sleep and restful activities, having space in your day, living that slow life, right? Not feeling like you're having to rush around all the time and put everybody's needs in front of your own. Having space in your days and your weeks where you can be restful is a way to honor that inner goddess energy. Goddesses don't rush around, right? Things happen on their timing, not on the timing of everything else. Also, anything that allows you to express yourself creatively, that allows you to feel fun and playful and sensual. Dance is very beautiful. Listening to beautiful music or singing, expressing yourself in that way. Physically nurturing your body, moving it in ways that feel joyful, thinking about it in ways that feel joyful, eating foods that feel nourishing and delicious to you and feel healthy for you, pampering your body. So this can be, with beauty ritual, with goddess baths, with showers where you kind of do your everything shower, right? All of those things are about, when you do them in the energy of awakening your inner goddess, is about treating yourself and pampering yourself the way a goddess would. Honoring and expressing your own emotions. So this is a huge part of self-care, right? We can't honor ourselves. We can't truly take care of ourselves if we're not looking at that emotional piece, allowing ourselves to feel our feelings, having places that we express those feelings, whether it be journaling or with a trusted friend or counselor, therapist, coach, healer. Whatever ways that you can honor your own emotional process and express it are going to be honoring that divine feminine energy within you. One of the gifts of the divine feminine is our emotions. And so tapping into them and allowing yourself to be with them and honor them is one of the most beautiful ways to honor the goddess within you. So that's the first step, the self-care realm, all of those different things that go within it. Focus on your self-care. Secondly, let's talk about self-love, right? It's about self-love and self-care are interrelated with one another. I think I have a video about this already on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested about that, search self-care and self-love on my channel. And I'll talk about how those things are connected, but not exactly the same. So with self-love, we're talking about your relationship with yourself, how you view yourself. Are you your own best friend or most loved one? That's the kind of relationship we want to develop with ourselves, right? So taking a look at how you speak to yourself and how you think about yourself and shifting that to be nurturing, to be affirming, empowering, and really speaking to yourself the way a goddess would, right? I don't think a goddess would be spending all of her time telling herself that, oh, how dumb she is, or the negative ways about how she looks, or that she's unworthy of something, right? That's not goddess energy. Goddess energy is about looking at yourself through the eyes of divine love. If we think about the goddesses, the goddess energy outside of ourselves, of Aphrodite, Venus, Hathor, I am entirely sure they do not spend time thinking about how stupid they are. They are spending time in creation, in joy, in love, in sensuality. Those are the energies that we want to be in and the mindset that we want to have toward ourselves. So anytime you're working on your self-love, your relationship with yourself, you're awakening the goddess within you. Okay, thirdly, expect the best for yourself and really start to practice sharing your feelings, sharing your needs, asking for what you need, setting boundaries, and not being afraid to prioritize what it is that you want. This is an extension of that self-care and self-love, the communication of it to other people, and your expectation around what your life is going to look like and what is available to you, right? So a goddess would see that everything is available to her. The best is available to her. She would expect to be treated as a goddess and to be able to state what it is that she feels and wants clearly and with love and have it be responded to. So the more you can practice those things within all the realms of your life, the more you're awakening that inner goddess energy. Okay. Tip number 4, or practice number 4, that we can use to really start to connect to our inner goddess. Learn about your monthly cycle, the personal cycle of your menstrual cycle within the month, its phases, and begin tracking it and utilizing the knowledge of how your energy is shifting and changing throughout the month to sync up with your life and empower you. So this is a very powerful practice. It is probably worthy of a video all on its own, and I'm sure there are other videos out there. If you guys are interested, happy to make a video on my perspective on this. But this is about, really educating yourself about your menstrual cycle, what's happening in your body, knowing that there are going to be phases of different energy with your body. There's going to be the energy that you have during menstruation, which is going to be your releasing energy, where you're probably the most low energy, but also more highly intuitive and sensitive. Moving into the start of the next cycle, which is going to be a time that you feel more empowered, more highly energized, more like putting yourself out there, more outgoing. Then moving into your peak ovulation period, where it's really going to be where you want to connect with people, where you might feel the most attractive and sensual. And then going into the phase that leads us back into menstruation, which is all about kind of your releasing process there. So there's a lot more detail to it than that, but I just want to give you a sense of the fact that every month as women, we cycle, and there's going to be different energies at different parts of the month. Learn about it and use it to your advantage. Plan to do things that require your most energy during the highest energy portions of your cycle. Plan to do things that are self-honoring, quiet, reflective, meditative during the few days before your period and during your period. Once you start to be conscious about that, you're going to feel so much more in tune with yourself as a woman, and will be honoring that goddess energy within you. Okay, and my last tip for now about awakening your inner goddess energy is anything that you can do around learning about your own intuitive processes, and then trusting the intuitive knowings and nudges that you receive are going to help awaken that inner goddess divine feminine energy. Intuition is the realm of the feminine, right? We talk about, people talk about all the time, like feminine intuition, a woman's intuition. There's a reason for that. Men also have their own intuitive senses, of course, and the masculine energy has that. But our intuition is as the feminine energy, as very, very powerful, and unlocks a way of living that is very flowing, very receptive, very guided by the universe, and it will not guide you wrong if you learn how to listen to it. So learning how to listen to it can require learning more information about what exactly the intuitive senses are, then starting to discover what your particular intuitive gifts are. So which intuitive senses are you strongest in, and what tools, another part of this is what tools work for you to access your intuition. So learning about things like divination, tarot and oracle cards, using pendulums, any kind of healing practice, using sound or music, all of those things, chanting, all of those things, ritual tools and tools that allow you to access your own intuition are going to help awaken that inner goddess energy. Okay, so those are my 5 tips around awakening that inner goddess. Now let's talk about connecting to the goddesses as we think about them as archetypes or divinity outside of you, as I talked about in my last video. So if that calls you, then one of the first beautiful practices to do is to really start learning about the history of goddess religions and different goddesses around the world, their stories, what is associated with them, what is sacred to them. And as you learn, really start to pay attention to what you feel drawn to, which goddesses you feel drawn to, which cultures you feel drawn to, what aspects of their stories and energies resonate with you. That's going to give you a really big clue as to how to begin working with them and which goddesses you might want to start with. I know that is one of the first ways I started working with goddess energies. I was really drawn to read a certain book about the history of goddess religions. Prior to our more patriarchal religions that are our mainstream religions today. And then from that came a beautiful unfolding of learning about all kinds of goddess mythologies, working with a goddess in both psychological and spiritual ways, and it kind of just unfolded from there. So if that draws you, start to research through books, through videos, through internet searches about goddess religions and mythologies. Okay. Second suggestion is set up a goddess altar in your home, in your space. And this can be as simple or as elaborate as you like, as you have space for, as you feel comfortable with. For some people, it may be just a single candle and a picture of a certain goddess, or a little statue that reminds you of the goddess, or a certain crystal that has a feminine energy to you. For others, it may be a very elaborate altar with a candle and a representation of the goddess in a bigger picture type of way, along with the elements and the things that are sacred to her. So we can get as small or as big with this as you like. And as you do that goddess research from the first step, you'll learn more about what represents each goddess and what you might feel called to put on this altar. And so create that altar and that sacred space for yourself dedicated to the goddess. And this can be either the goddess as a big picture energy, the great goddess, or a specific goddess. Like if you're working on healing within your relationships or loving yourself more, embodying more of your love goddess energy, you might want to create an altar to Aphrodite, to Venus, to Hathor. Those are just some of the goddesses associated with love. If you're working on being more abundant and bringing in more financial security or your life purpose, you may want to create an altar to Lakshmi or to Isis as a goddess of 10,000 names. There are many different ways we can connect to this energy, but as you do that research of learning about the different goddesses, you will start to understand which goddesses are calling you to work with you on different aspects of your life. So you can play with that idea in your sacred space and on your altar. Okay. Thirdly, now that you have this altar, if you choose to do that practice, spend time at the altar as consistently as you can, preferably daily. And if you can make it be so in the morning, but whenever you feel called to is important. And what to do at this altar. You can just meditate, an open meditation, setting the intention to connect with the goddess. You can do a guided meditation. There are plenty of beautiful ones on YouTube, and I am planning to create some of my own. I already have some recorded from some of the goddess circles I have, so I'll be posting those soon. You can use a guided meditation and visualization to connect to the goddess. You can journal, opening up to what messages the goddess has for you, and then just free write as you connect that energy and see what comes through. You can work with tarot or oracle cards, setting the intention to connect to the goddess's wisdom and guidance through that. So there are many beautiful ways in order that we can work with goddess energy at your altar. So feel into those different ways and find one that works for you, and begin to do that as consistently as possible. You are building a relationship with that goddess energy. Okay. Another beautiful tip is make a point to spend time in nature, walking outside in the different seasons and appreciating the seasons, the earth as a manifestation of the divine feminine, as the goddess, as of Gaia, of Pachamama, however you like to think about that. Some of the most spiritual times I've had have been sitting just alone in like a quiet woods or on the beach, watching the sunrise or sunset and appreciating the beauty of nature and sending appreciation and gratitude for the goddess as she manifests as nature. That's a very powerful practice. So that can be a beautiful thing to start doing. Also, okay, another practice here is begin working with the moon cycle. Just as we have our own monthly cycle as females, the moon has her cycle, and they are very much connected together. Like I said, this is a whole video in itself. But if you start to learn about the phases of the moon and the energies that represents, we work with the goddess energy, because the moon is the representation of the goddess. In most cultures, the goddess is a divine feminine energy, and she represents the cycle that the goddess goes through in her life. We have the maiden, we have the mother, and we have the wise woman or the crone, right? And so the moon cycles represent the cycles of the goddess. And so as we track those cycles and we use them in our lives for our intention setting, and to take advantage of those energies within our months for ourselves, we are connecting to that goddess energy. So hopefully that's helpful to think about. And then lastly, you can use, as I mentioned in the Awakening the Inner Goddess section, using tools, ritual tools like tarot cards, oracle cards, essential oils, mantras, chants, etc., that are connected to specific goddesses or just the goddess in general. Learning about those tools and then using them in your spiritual practices and in your day-to-day life is a beautiful way to honor the goddess as well. So I think that was 5 or 6. I didn't keep count of those, but all of those are practices that are going to get you started. Hopefully this has given you an overview of ways that you can begin to work both with your inner goddess energy and the goddess outside of you, and incorporate these practices in your day-to-day life. And one of the most important things that I want to leave you with is, no matter what practice you're drawn to, or even if you're not drawn to any of these things I mentioned, remember that your intention is powerful. And so whenever you are setting the intention to do something in order to honor your own inner goddess or the goddess outside of you, that is powerful, and you are doing that. So if you decide that you're going to sit down and have a beautiful meal, and this meal is going to be about honoring your inner goddess and nurturing your temple, your body temple, the temple which that piece of you resides in, you are doing that practice. It is done. You know, if you're sitting down and having that meal and saying, I'm having this meal to honor the abundance that Lakshmi represents, you are doing that. She's receiving that. So don't feel constrained to any one particular practice. Make your life a devotional with your intention. Okay? And I hope that this has been helpful. It's giving you a good overview. And as I've been making these videos, I've been starting to feel really called to maybe make some more specific videos on each particular goddess and how you can awaken her energy within you and honor her in your day-to-day life. And so if you're interested in that, if you'd like to see a series of videos where we talk about the different goddesses and how to awaken them within you, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear if you're interested in that. And I also have some beautiful goddess affirmations that I have recorded to help you in this journey and this process of awakening that goddess within you, working on your self-love and your self-worth. And so if you're feeling like you need a little bit of support with that, I'm going to leave that linked down below, and you can access those for free, download them, and use them as part of your daily rituals and practices. I would love for you to do that and love any feedback that you have on that. And if you like this video, please hit that like button, share it with someone else that you think it might be helpful for, and then subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos on working with goddess energy and divine feminine empowerment, spirituality, self-care, tarot, and more. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.